This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Tim Serber.
Well, welcome back, everybody. This is the Good Neighbors Podcast, and this is the show where we sit down with business owners, leaders, storytellers who make Morgan County a great place to live and work in. I'm your host, Tim Serber, and today we're talking with a Martinsville attorney who has spent more than 2 decades helping Indiana families protect what they've built and plan for what comes next. This one you'll love. So today, Lisa, welcome to our show. This is Lisa Blackman, and she's the owner of the law office of Lisa A. Blackman right here on East Morgan Street. And she's an attorney, elder law attorney with more than 25 years of experience. So how you doing today, Lisa?
I'm doing great. Been in appointments all day.
Oh, I bet you've been busy. I know it's a tough one because you are in demand. I think you have a great reputation in the county.
Good. I'm so thankful for that.
Yep. So I want to start off kind of because, elder law is pretty specific niche, right? And
Sure.
Not every attorney is drawn to it. So your firm focuses specifically on elder law. So kind of go over what that is and, really of all the opportunities out there to, of really the practice you can build, why did you choose elder law?
Well, when I got out of law school, I went to a general practice law firm, and my aunt called me one day and said, "Your papa is in a nursing home and we need an elder law attorney." And I said, "I don't know what an elder law attorney is or does, but I'll find out." So I called around and everybody said, "You need to go to Martinsville and talk to Roger Coffin." So that's how I got in connection with Roger and Patty Coffin. And I ended up joining their firm, and my grandpa's Medicaid case was my first case that I handled. Yeah. So that kind of took off from there, and I just loved the work. And I stuck with it for a long, long time because I really like older people. I just love their values and their work ethic and just their dedication to their families. And, I really like that I have clients that I admire, and I really like helping them. So.
Well, and I know you have a passion for it. And I tell you, I'm at that age. Someday I might need your service pretty soon, who knows? But,
Don't wait too long.
Yeah. Yeah, right. But, you got to have that. You got to have that real love for it because it is a challenging, really area of law, I think.
Sure. You have to be very patient and kind. And sometimes you have to talk really loud because they're hard of hearing, or you have to talk really slow because it just takes them longer to absorb what you're saying. And, it takes a certain kind of personality, I think.
I think so. I think you're right. Now, you've been practicing for more than 25 years, including time as a partner at respected firms before opening your own office here in Martinsville. What did you want to build with your own practice that you couldn't build anywhere else?
I wanted greater flexibility with working with people that maybe don't have sizable estates. Sometimes they don't have a lot, but it makes it all that more important that we do good planning for them so that they can protect and preserve what they have saved over the years. And a lot of my clients are, they're salt of the earth. They were mechanics and they, were hairdressers, and they're not rich people typically, right? They're
Right.
People trying to just protect that little nest egg that they were able to save by not going on vacations and not driving new cars and that sort of thing. They want to make sure that those assets end up going to their kids or their grandkids. And they're all afraid, what happens if I go into a nursing home? What can I do now? Hopefully they come in soon enough, and that's their question. What can I do now to try to plan in case that happens?
Yeah. And I think that's, and we're going to go kind of into that here in just a few minutes. But, for a lot of our listeners, elder law sounds like it's something they'll deal with someday, right? And I know I've been that kind of person, but not yet. And at what stage of life should somebody really start thinking about estate planning, and what happens when the family waits too long?
Yeah. So I get that question a lot. And I usually tell my clients, the first thing I tell them usually is, if you go into a nursing home and you need the assistance of Medicaid, which almost everybody does because it costs around $10,000 a month. Now that's going to gobble up your estate pretty quickly. So there's a
Yeah.
5-year look back when we apply for Medicaid. That means they want to know, what have you given away in the 5 years leading up to the application for Medicaid? They want to make sure you haven't just dumped all your assets in your kids' names a year before applying for Medicaid, right? Because they're going to penalize you if you did that. So we
Wow.
want to try to get it transferred to a Medicaid set-aside trust, is what I call it. It's kind of instead of gifting all the assets to the kids individually, I want to put it in a trust instead because it protects those assets from many potential creditors, that the kids might have either now or in the future. They go through a
Mhm.
divorce, or if they file bankruptcy, or they have a business fail and they have judgment creditors. We don't want liens filed on mom and dad's farm. So it's good to, put it in that Medicaid set aside trust early enough. And I always say 70s ish, because, if you've been diagnosed with something early on in your 50s, let's say, you've got early onset dementia, Alzheimer's, Lou Gehrig's disease, something, that could potentially land you in long term care sooner than most. You might want to get that planning done sooner than 70s. But,
Yeah.
I've done these trusts for 80-year-olds before, but my clients are getting older and older, and they're some of them are just sharp as tacks. So
Yeah.
it just depends on your situation, I think.
And everybody's situation is different and can change daily.
Sure.
I
And
know.
even if you're in your 40s, and you have young kids, you would want to do at least a will so that you
Yeah.
have guardians named for your kids. And, there's a document you can do that gives them guardianship over your kids, essentially, until they can get into court and get legal guardianship, basically, if something were to happen to both you and your spouse. And you want to make sure your kids are immediately have somebody to go to, and they have resources
Yeah.
to protect them.
Okay. That's good to know. Now, I know that one of the most stressful things a family can face is needing to get parents into a nursing home, not knowing where to go, where to turn, what to do, and suddenly, facing those costs too. So, how does Medicaid planning actually work, and what's the biggest misconception people have about it?
Well, a lot of my clients think once I get that will done, I've done everything I need to do. The will really doesn't do anything. It's a piece of paper. It says what you want done with your stuff after you die. But Medicaid planning is more for, what do I need to do while I'm alive? Like, what do I need to put in place while I'm alive so that the assets that I've accumulated are protected, or if I'm farming, that my farm doesn't end up, on the chopping block to pay for care. We don't definitely want that. And there are special rules that protect farmers and family business owners, and the 5-year look back may not even apply to them. So there are special circumstances for people like that. So it just takes a lot of experience and knowledge of the Medicaid rules to help people navigate, whatever their particular situation might be. But I guess the biggest misconception is, I don't need to do anything. I did a will.
Right.
So that's, I think, and plus we have a lot of people that'll call us and say, oh, somebody told me I'm going to lose my house because my husband's in long-term care. No, that's not the case at all. Your home's exempt. I mean, there are things we want to do to try to protect it in case the healthy spouse ends up in long-term care.
Right.
But, that's, they get a lot of bad information from people who have, I don't know, they have a little experience with it and they think maybe they can be helpful, but sometimes they're not helpful. They
Yeah.
actually make the person worry more.
Yeah. And the internet doesn't help at all.
No.
People search, you don't know what's accurate or not.
Right.
A lot of folks assume estate planning is just for the wealthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that if you don't own a lot, you don't really need a will or a trust. What would you say to the average Morgan County family who's never sat down with an attorney about this? What would trigger that?
Well, I will tell you, I have maybe a very low percentage of clients that have been what I consider wealthy. Most of them aren't. Most of them are middle class people, salt of the earth, like I said, and they're just worried about protecting the nest egg that they've accumulated. And what I would want to tell them is just make sure that your wishes are known before something happens. You lose capacity, you have a stroke, you have you fall and break a hip, and you end up in a nursing home, and they can't get you up and going anymore, and you can't go back home. Like, we want to have a plan for any kind of contingencies that might occur. And it's just good to get your wishes known, especially, like simple things like a power of attorney. I have so many people that come in with these awful powers of attorney that they get online and they don't execute them properly, and they think they have a POA, and they actually don't, because they didn't do what the instructions told them to do, much less the power of attorney itself is awful. It's very boilerplate and vague, and powers of attorney are getting harder and harder to use. Financial institutions have gotten more picky, and they want to see specific powers in there. They don't want these vague sort of, generic, I guess, powers of attorney that you get online. And we don't charge a lot for those. It's a very important document, and it's worth the little bit we charge for them. And also, if you're not able to make your healthcare decisions, who do you want to do that, right? You need that you need to have that in writing too. And a lot of people think that because they're married, their spouse can do those things for them. Oh, I'm married, my husband can do those things for me. No, he can't. Not legally. He can't sign documents for you. He can't close bank accounts that he's not on. Like, he can't, go sell your car. He's not authorized to sign your name unless he's your power of attorney. So, you really need to kind of get past all these misconceptions,
And there's a lot of misconceptions there that people have about documents, and like you said, getting them online, just file it yourself. And I've fallen for that. I've been there. I understand that. And probate is something else that a lot of people have a misconception on. It's a word that people don't understand, but also scares them at the same time, I think. And so can you walk us through what probate actually is, and when avoiding it does and doesn't make sense?
Okay. So when you do a will, you say in that will who you want to be in charge of administering your estate and who you want to get your stuff. But the will doesn't have any power to it until it's admitted to probate. We have to file it with the court in the county where you live, where you die, where your property is located. And if you have property in another state, we would have to open an estate here and an estate there in that state. We'd have to get another attorney to probate down there as well. So if you have property in more than one state, it's very important to avoid probate. But it's still important to avoid it here too, just because of the cost involved in going through the probate administration process. We have to pay a filing fee to the county clerk. We have to publish notice in the local newspaper that we've opened an estate, and the intention with that is, it's a statutory requirement actually, that we give creditors an opportunity to file a claim in the estate if they're owed money by the person who died. So we have to file that in the local newspaper twice, 2 weeks apart, and then we can't close the estate until 3 months from that first publication of notice. And sometimes the family want to jump right in and clean the house out, get it listed. They're maybe trying to avoid facing, mourning their parents' death. Sometimes I think they want to try to stay busy, some of them. Right. Others aren't like that at all. They want to push it to the back and not deal with it. But some just want to stay busy and not think about it. And in probate, you just can't do anything quickly. So people want to avoid that process, I think, and just make things easier for their kids or whoever they're making, administrator in charge of the estate. They don't want it to be a difficult process or a stressful process for them. Right. So usually that's why they come in to do trust is they just want to try to make it easier, make it less expensive, make it less time consuming for, their kids.
And your office is right here on Morgan Street in Martinsville, and you've been an active part of the chamber here. Why is being rooted in the community so important for you?
Well, I think it's important to be involved in local charities, and I'm active in my church. I just think it's so important for people to have somebody in the community that they feel like they can trust because they live in the community, to have the same values maybe that you have. And I'm married, I have a family here, I have kids that go to school here. And I just feel like that makes me someone that they feel like they can trust more, than getting in the car and driving to Indianapolis and talking to someone that doesn't really know how they live,
Yeah.
what their values are, that sort of thing. So
Your office does a great job making people feel comfortable there. I can tell you that.
good. I'm glad to hear that. I share my faith with people a lot, and they share their faith with me.
Yeah.
And it's very important, I think, and that makes them feel pretty comfortable too. That I'm a Christian and that I go to a local church, and I just I try not to push it on anybody, but I do like to tell people I'll pray for them, and
Yeah.
they always say I'll pray for you too,
Yeah.
and that's very comforting to them, and it's very comforting to me. So I think that helps a lot too.
And I think it's, for me, I like to work with people who have Christian values as myself and our family. So I think that's important. And I think people want to know that, right? I mean, the community here is still a very God-fearing community. So I think that's a perfect fit.
Sure. I had a client one time. I went, this was years ago. His wife was at a nursing home in Salem, Indiana, and I was meeting him there at the nursing home. And before I even got sat down, he said, "Have you accepted Jesus Christ as your personal savior?" And
Oh,
I
wow.
said, "Yes, sir, I have." And he said, "Okay, you can sit down."
Well, that's a good requirement to have, I think.
Yes. I thought that was great.
Before we wrap things up, for the person that's listening now who needs to get their affairs in order, or who are worried about a mom or a dad and isn't quite sure where to start, what's the easiest way for them to reach your office, and what should they expect from that first conversation?
Well, the best way to get an appointment is to call the office. The number is 765-343-1900. And a sweet gal named Cheyenne will probably be answering the phone, and she'll get you on my calendar. And it might take a couple weeks to get you in here, but we'll get you in here and we'll get your stuff done quickly. We make an appointment for you before you leave to come back and sign your documents or have a follow-up appointment. We don't want you to get lost in the shuffle. So we try to make sure we keep you on the calendar so that you don't feel like you're being ignored, or, your work's not getting accomplished. And we have a website too,
Okay.
blackmanelderlaw.com, and you can reach out on there as well. And then we have emails. Mine's Lisa at Blackman Elder Law. My paralegal is Mandy at Blackman Elder Law. So you can reach out to us that way as well.
And I know Cheyenne's a sweet girl. She's called me a couple times and really enjoyed the quick conversation. She's always nice when you're there.
She's very kind, and Mandy is too. I don't know if you got to talk to her yet, but she's my paralegal, and they're both very good girls, and I'm so blessed to have them.
I think you are. They're both top notch. I'll tell you that. I've been impressed with them.
Good.
So, well, I want to say thank you for the work you do for the families in our community and for sharing time with us today.
Sure.
This is something that I think is most important and really overlooked a lot by families and people. And a lot of it's because I think they're unsure.
Right.
And the other thing is, such as me, I thought I was invincible till about age 40. And then I realized I wasn't.
Right.
That wasn't good.
Sure.
But, they can reach you at blackmanelderlaw.com, and your phone number is 765-343-1900.
Yes.
And you're right down there at 369 East Morgan Street. So very close. And you got a great big parking lot now there. So
yeah, right next to the Excellent Day. So you can
That's right.
get a good meal and then come over and see me.
There you go. Well, that's going to do it for our episode today and Good Neighbors Podcast. Lisa, thank you for being part of it.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Great. And if this is something that you enjoyed, folks, I ask you that you share it with your friends and family. And I think this is a good one to really look into, because I think Lisa brings a lot of value to it. And you can't, you don't know what your health is going to do. Mine took a big turn health-wise when I was 39 that never expected. So you just don't know. So I think it's a good idea to get in touch with Lisa in her office there. So until next time, everybody, do me a favor. Be a good neighbor, Morgan County, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpmorgancounty.com. That's gnpmorgancounty.com. Or call 317-743-2058. All right.